Welcome back to the non-dual lectionary. This is the ninth Sunday after Pentecost in year C, and we have another gospel story of Jesus' teacher from Luke as we continue on with Luke in year C. And it's really in two parts here, but I think we'll be able to connect them a little bit. So from Luke chapter 12, verses 32 to 40. Do not be afraid, little flock, for it is your Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom. Sell your possessions and give alms. Make purses for yourselves that do not wear out, an unfailing treasure in heaven, where no thief comes near and no moth destroys. For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. Be dressed for action and have your lamps lit. Be like those who are waiting for their master to return from the wedding banquet, so that they may open the door for him as soon as he comes and knocks. Blessed are those slaves whom the master finds alert when he comes. Truly I tell you, he will fasten his belt and have them sit down to eat, and he will come and serve them. If he comes during the middle of the night or near dawn and finds them so, blessed are those slaves. But know this, if the owner of the house had known at what hour the thief was coming, he would not have let his house be broken into. You also must be ready, for the Son of Man is coming at an hour you do not expect. So, like I said, I think this is Jesus's teacher, and the first section is seemingly straightforward, things to do. And the second section is another thing to do, but a little bit more confusing. And let's start with the second part. Um, so, so to me, when we kind of hear this as Jesus's teacher, as Jesus's person who's kind of trying to open up or trying to, nudge, trying to evoke that true self within in the listener, right? Uh, the lesson here of waiting, be ready, be waiting. Um, uh, there's an interesting thing here of, to me, the waiting for something, right? He does say you must also be ready, for the Son of Man is coming at an hour you do not expect, right? So the sense there is that we're going to wait, and then, suddenly at some strange time, unknown, there'll be this thing, and that'll be the end of the waiting. Um, so 2 points there, right? The first is, the waiting, I think, and the be readiness, kind of be aware, uh, strikes me as a core, again, kind of a mindfulness teaching, right? The being always aware, almost reminiscent of praying all unceasingly. um, but the sense of an instruction here of like being prepared, being ready, being aware, constantly having a practice, right? Constantly practicing. And evoking again, like the part of it, because that's like a lot of these things, that's an impossible task. If you set your mind, if you set your psychological self towards being always aware, ready for, always prepared for the Son of Man, and if we say Son of Man, thinking external, right? External almost always has a resonance or a hint at the internal, right? So being always prepared, always ready for the awakening moment, the enlightenment moment, the opening up to true nature. Um, that's not something the psychological self can do. That's not something the mind can do. It's just not possible. But again, it's kind of like putting the frustration of the mind in the right place, but also evoking here, right? The part that is always ready, the part that um, is always aware, because awareness is always present. I mean, this is sort of a core meditative teaching, right? Is that just simply noticing that awareness is already present. Um, you can't make it present. You can't make it appear and disappear. It's not possible. So the psychological self always wants to be trying to do something to make it happen, right? But this here is a lesson, I think, of um, noticing that you can't make it happen, but also noticing that, and that's that second part, right? That something's coming, but you can't make it happen. There isn't an end there in that sense. Um, but noticing that the awareness is already there, that that the task is to resonate, right? To come in alignment with the part with true nature that's already there. And then we kind of go back to that first part, right? And some kind of straightforward things here. We can read it as a message of non-attachment. Um, put up your treasures in heaven. No thief can come. But there also, I think, uh, the kind of link between the two. The kingdom is already given, right? Uh, the task here is not to do something to make it happen, um, but to notice its presence, right? To put your treasures in heaven, to step back from the attachment to anything else, and not to wait for a thing to happen, but simply to notice that the awareness is always present, that the waiting is already there, right? That true nature mm, is always prepared in a sense, right? And that again, like the practice is noticing, bringing our whole self more in alignment with that, if that makes sense. But yeah, a tricky little message. But again, clearly Jesus as teacher, right? Do this, do that. This is the way to do things. Think about things like this, but another challenging one, right? Another, like, not just a challenge to, like, well, that's a difficult thing for me to do, but, like, how do I do that? How is that even possible? And it's that how is that even possible, I think, that's the beauty of certain teachers, right? Is that how is that even possible can, like, throw you past the mind in a way and evoke what already is. And that's the beauty of the teaching.